Welcome to the London Property Podcast, your go-to source for navigating the complex and ever-changing London real estate market. Our digital marketplace provides informative and educational content from industry leaders through podcasts and videos. We cover various aspects of the real estate experience, including buying and selling, finance, law, tax, construction, design, and more. Join us as we delve into the latest trends and developments in the market and gain valuable insights from our panel of experts.
Hello and welcome to London Property, the home of super prime. I am your host Farnaz Fazaipour, and today we're delighted to welcome Adina David to the show, who is the founder of Ladies in Real Estate, which I was very pleased to discover at MIPIM this year. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. It was great to have you.
So, Adina, I just want to first of all put things into perspective and talk to us about how your own personal journey in real estate actually began.
So my journey into real estate was probably similar to others, with kind of, it happens maybe by mistake. You don't really think about getting into commercial real estate as you're doing your studies. But I'll start with a bit of background just on myself. I'm originally from Romania, but I moved to New York when I was 10. And then after university, I decided to go back to Romania and see what was going on. This was 2007 when Romania had just joined the EU and a lot of changes were happening locally. So I went back, I spent a couple of years in the nonprofit sector, and then someone very randomly in my network reached out and said, hey, have you ever thought about commercial real estate? I have a friend hiring at Knight Frank. He went to set up the investment team there. And I thought, I don't know what this is, but sure, I'll take a call. And it happened to be with the best agent in the market locally. I mean, he really did the majority of the office deals back in the early 2000s in Bucharest. So it was a really kind of great first experience because he was so passionate about what he was doing. He would sleep something like 3 hours a night and really kind of drive deals and the business forward. And I thought, wow, I really want to be part of this because you can see very tangible impact that your work is having in the built environment. He's literally, doing the deals that are leading to new buildings being built, new downtowns being created. And I thought, wow, it's kind of a special thing to be a part of that. And we did that for a couple of years. And then this was in the middle of the GFC, so lending was a little bit difficult in Eastern Europe at the time. And I decided to go back to New York for a few years, do a master's in real estate finance to get a little bit more into the weeds. My university degree was in political science and French, so not quite directly related, but I do like maths. So I thought, okay, let's get a diploma in this, and then move to the buy side from the agency side. And I did that back in New York into a residential developer, owner-operator of real estate focused in New York, but we also did some deals in Florida, so along the East Coast. And did that for a couple of years. It was really, really great experience. And eventually decided I wanted to be back in Europe and made the move over to London in 2016 with Greystar, a large American residential investor, developer, operator. And that was an incredible experience as well. One of the biggest deals I did was a modular, fully volumetric modular building down in South London, 546 apartments. It was the tallest of its kind at that moment, something like, I think, 44 stories, which, again, for new technology, I thought was pretty cool to be part of doing something like that. And then I developed an interest in co-living. So I briefly went to a company called The Collective and got to know, new ways to do residential. You think you kind of know how to build a home, but there are different typologies that can exist, especially in cities, especially in high density areas, that can be more suitable for different lifestyles and make it more affordable for singles to live. So after that experience, I boomeranged back to Greystar to look at a global sort of alternative living idea, merging concepts from multifamily build to rent, co-living, hospitality, etc., into a new model, which was quite exciting. I did that in lots of different markets globally, and then joined the partnership of a smaller investment management firm. Also continued to focus on resi, and now looking to pivot out of resi, but still very much within investment management. So that's been my journey to date within real estate.
Okay, so you kind of, the first 10 years of your career, you really got a broad spectrum from going back home and seeing things literally at the breaking ground point to all the emerging markets. I guess having started your real estate experience really with the big boys, because commercial and getting involved in big scale development made you realize what I realized when I came to MIPIM. There's a lot of blue suits. So would you say that when was the moment that you decided that you needed to set up something like Ladies in Real Estate?
So it took me a little while at the start of my career to find senior women who, to whom I could turn and kind of have direct personal conversations with, mentors who were female leaders. It wasn't until I went back to New York, actually, so almost 3-4 years into being in real estate, that I found a woman who took me to lunch. She worked for one of our clients at the time, and over lunch, she started being very open. I think she started to tell me about her water births. And I was like, wow, no one has sat me down, has ever been this open about this sort of thing. And it was so nice and refreshing. And you start to feel kind of welcome and empowered and like you can belong to this industry, and it's okay to be a woman and to have your needs that maybe differ from the guys. So that was really nice. And after I met her, I thought women need these personal relationships with other women, not unlike the men who already kind of have those relationships. It's really easy for a man to turn to a male colleague at the end of the workday and say, let's go grab a pint. Women don't naturally really do that. We have to have things in the diary and scheduled, especially if there's childcare involved. You have to do your pickups or drop-offs or whatever. So you're not really maybe as spontaneous as the guys. The idea for Ladies in Real Estate actually started in New York in grad school. I was meeting with a bunch of my colleagues at the graduate program for brunches anyway, about once a month. And I thought, wouldn't it be nice to have a standing reservation at one of our favorite restaurants so we know we can always find each other, find someone we need to speak to on a random Sunday. And it worked really well for the time I was there, but it never grew into something too big. However, when I got to London, I thought, could I do this here? But women we all live in different sort of villages around London, so it's really difficult to do a weekend thing. But a weekday breakfast worked super well. So we started organizing meetups. There were initially drinks in the evenings, but we saw, again, women struggle to get out of the office when they say they're going to get out, or they get stuck at the desk or whatever. So the retention was really low for the evening drinks. But when we switched it to a breakfast, many more women started coming, and it became super popular and grew to probably 1,000 odd women before the pandemic. But after, it really took off. And it was helped by lots of different property companies opening up their offices to host and offering to host monthly, because I thought the consistency of the events was super important. Like, just know there's a place for you to come and meet women, whether you're new to the industry, whether you're a veteran, whether you kind of want to regrow your network or you want to pivot in the industry. So maybe you've been a lawyer your whole career to date, but you really are attracted by the investment side. You've been on a lot of transactions, so you could make that jump if you wanted to. Or you're an architect and you want to get into development. I think lots of ways to pivot, and women should know that. But anyway, coming to these types of events, I think helps you broaden your view of the industry, and keeping them open and free enables everyone of any ability or level to come. There are limited barriers or no barriers to entry. You just have to register on the website. So it's really finding out about the group and then coming along. And in 2019, we launched the 50-50 concept as well, which invites the men to the events and into the conversation, but only once a quarter. So 2 months out of the quarter, it's women only, and then 1 month, the men can come along if invited by a woman. So the room is balanced out the way that we should hope to see the industry with its gender balanced.
I was going to say you're being very kind when you said women are not so spontaneous and they don't go for drinks after work. They're usually rushing home to do dinner time or wait for the waitress shopping bags or whatever to come. So early in the morning, probably by breakfast time, they've already been up 3 hours.
We're very scheduled, and it's harder to be as spontaneous.
But I like what you say in the sense that people don't always think, well, if I'm a very entrepreneurial lawyer, I can now use that knowledge in real estate. And there's so many different things. I mean, for our platform, for example, when people ask me, what do you do? And I'm like, we cover all aspects of real estate. And like, what the heck does that mean? But, it's buying and selling, it's tax and law, it's finance and investment, it's design and build. It's all real estate related. So you can transfer really valuable things that you've learned in one sector.
And once you do a few transactions, you get exposure to all the different, you should get exposure to all the different elements, the full capital stack, and then all the other disciplines that feed into it. If you're doing development, you're speaking often with architects, your project managers, your construction teams. So you kind of have to put your hand in lots of different pots, and you have to understand what goes into it. To drive good investments forward. So.
And I wonder whether that isn't actually what women are going to bring to the table, because you are going to start to think about things laterally, and when you have different understandings of various aspects of a transaction, then you can actually pull in lots of different things and say, well, actually, if you do it this way. Because the way that I like to help people is exactly that. It's like you're buying a property, but why are you buying it? How are you going to use it? How long do you think you're going to keep it for? Are you going to end up passing it to your children? It's not just you found a property, you want to buy it, but there's so many other aspects that come into it. And I don't know whether it's just my personality or whether what you touched on, which is women do multitask, and actually multitasking across real estate really fits in well.
I think this is like both a blessing and a curse, that women are really good project managers. So we're really good at, knowing who to turn to pull a whole team together and drive a project forward. But we're often not really focused on, for ourselves, maybe bringing in the cash, bringing in that, making the profit, and being really much more transactionally focused, where, we want everyone to get along and deliver this and get to the end. Whereas I think maybe the men are much more focused on how am I making my money with as little effort as possible, or I'll pull it in the right.
Show me the money. Show me the money.
But what's in it for me? And I think this is where women need to maybe change a little bit of their perspective. It's not going to change how they behave or who they are fundamentally. And I think it's great that we have the additional skill set of being able to manage teams and projects really well. But I think we need to think about, okay, how am I going to create my wealth? And then that's leading into what I'm hoping to do with Ladies in Real Estate going forward, and some of my other ventures. So
from when you first started the event back in 2016 to how you're evolving now, what would you say that transition's been like?
So I was always doing this on the side of a day job, which was usually pretty demanding. And that's part of why it was always kept very free and open, and relied a lot on the support of different companies hosting the events. So all I would really do is send out an email with basically a diary invite and saying, who wants to come? Here it is. As the group grew and we were oversubscribed for all the breakfasts, so I had to start putting in a couple of restrictions to it. So we created a ticketing system, and now you have to sign up for a ticket. They go really fast if you're not on top of it. Anyway, it was always send out an email, have the breakfast, scheduled with a group, and people show up. It took about an hour or two each month out of my schedule. But now the list has grown to about 4,000 women in London alone. So the breakfasts, which typically have a capacity of about 100 women, can't really satisfy the huge demand. So we've been looking at different initiatives like the Investment Club, also a mentorship program called LiRE Champions, and also growing it into global chapters that can connect and collaborate with each other. So we're trying out a few different things. I don't think we're done testing out initiatives or creating new ones. But the Investment Club specifically has been on my mind for a while in helping more women think about starting their own ventures in investment management. So becoming their own bosses or finding avenues to invest into real estate in different ways. And that doesn't have to be an investment management platform, but it could be. And why wouldn't it be? If you have the tools and skill set for sure, but also a group around you that can help you launch. I think the biggest hurdle to more women becoming managers is having that startup cash. And I hope that the Investment Club can find different solutions for us to get started. But also it's meant to be a knowledge sharing community as well. So it kind of has two purposes of helping women launch into this, but also educating them in this community around how to go about doing it. I think I was just sort of tired of continuously talking about DEI and not seeing very much change. Like, we know there's a gender pay gap. We know the women are not yet on par. We're not gender balanced in the industry. So how do we change or drive change forward? I think it's through some sort of practical steps of starting something, trying something out, not just continuing to measure it, which again, we should continue to measure things, but doing a bit more, and not just, giving someone an award for being a woman in their company. Or it's great to highlight visibility is, definitely right. But women also need to be making the money. And I think the way to do that is helping each other launch into investing or, setting up management platforms.
So you talked about the international expansion. How do you... the obvious thing is that people will be able to connect with each other in different geographical locations. But practically speaking, how do you envisage, or how is that forming itself, the kind of the international side of it?
I think it's come about really organically, not unlike the growth in London, possibly because my own career has been so global. But actually the first global chapter was in Sydney, Australia, and it was started by 3 women who met at a breakfast in London. And they all moved over, I think, during the pandemic and found each other again locally in Sydney and said, hey, do you remember the LiRE breakfasts? Wouldn't it be great to start something here? And they reached out and I said, absolutely. So I helped them with a little bit of the infrastructure and the promotional stuff. So having the LiRE brand, I think, just helps them attract new members locally. LinkedIn has been great for that, but other social media and, of course, our newsletter. So now when you go to register on ladiesinrealestate.org, you can put in your location and you get assigned, of course, you then get onto the newsletter for that local market. The first breakfast in Sydney welcomed about 70 women, so very successful straight out the gate. The second global market is going to be Paris. And then the same month in September, we're doing Dublin as well. And I think New York will follow in October. So the intention is start them, keep them local because real estate is a local business, but enable new connections to be formed. I mean, even yesterday I was speaking to a woman who's moving over from New York to London in a couple of months. It's always really nice to know you can tap into a market really quickly and grow your network very quickly. I mean, I myself knew 2 people when I moved to London in 2016. And now I wouldn't say I have 4,000 friends, but I can tap into a very large community very quickly, and it's proven extremely useful in whenever, even in sourcing for my day job, sourcing deals, I can ask the network, hey, who's selling this type of asset in this geography, or who is working in this sector, and immediately 20, 30 responses come back. And I'm trying to open the community up in different ways through, for example, a WhatsApp group that is open to the whole community, where we can share things like that. If someone is searching for capital deal expertise, they can ask it. Or if someone's looking for talent, so to fill a role, they can share it with the community through that. How exactly the global network will get connected is TBD, but I think, again, it seems so far it's pretty organic, and I am able to dedicate a bit more time to it right now, so I'm trying to kind of link people up, and then let the local leaders lead how they want to take that forward. But the consistency, I think, and the openness of the groups will continue to be important. So making sure the team on the ground understands we'd like to have these monthly or at least quarterly to start, so that you create that consistency in meetings, and then the community grows. But it's been very welcome so far, the idea. And again, the first breakfast Sydney was really well attended.
How ideally people attending these breakfasts should use these breakfasts?
Sure. So, I mean, the concept is really simple, maybe too simple, and sometimes people do get confused, but they are meant to be fully open, informal networking events. So you're there typically for an hour and a half, and you're there just to meet other people and build those personal relationships that the men otherwise would build over a pint, in the pub at the end of the workday. But again, our time needs to be maybe a little more structured and scheduled. So the breakfast works super well, but it's completely open. We don't really do any kind of panel or workshop type meetings. Although I am considering maybe launching something, but for now, I usually say a few words, ask the host group to say something, sometimes about the market, sometimes about their own DEI initiatives, and then we take a photo, and then you're back to more networking. But I think the sort of laid back vibe of the events is what keeps people coming back, because they're under no pressure to do anything, to put on a sales pitch. They can, if they want to practice that, but it really is almost like practice run for the bigger industry events where there are many more men maybe, or etc. But it's really to grow your network, to practice networking, and just have a nice, enjoyable morning. Usually people come out of the events and say, it was really uplifting, it was really positive. I mean, you came to the last one. What did you think?
I thought I would like to have £8,000 or £9,000 and attend the Oxford 5-day course, is what I thought.
We did have a special guest that morning.
We did have a special guest, the Said Business School.
Yes.
And I thought it was fascinating how they actually get so much of it covered in 5 days. And I said to the lady, if I had an employer, I would make them send me. But right now I'll have to do a deal and send myself. But it was interesting to see that they do them quite often, and they bring in some really powerful people to both teach and to meet.
Yeah.
And I think that in this digital world that we're living in, actually embracing networking is actually really important. We need human interaction. I mean, I'm so overdosed with 50,000 emails.
We did try, so in the pandemic, couldn't really meet in person, of course, for quite a long time, but we did switch to weekly coffee hours. So there were just virtual meetings, but I think we had about 20 to 30 women join each week, and that was at least a little opportunity to meet other people and talk about different things. And what I encouraged the group to do then was talk about passion projects. So actually at the time, I think we started to bring in different charities to discuss the work that they were doing. And sometimes we do bring in certain charities like SmartWorks and Regenerate London. So they do come to the breakfast to share different stories and ways for women to get involved with volunteering for different causes. But so that it's not just, business, real estate focused.
Yeah.
We try to give back.
Which one is SmartWorks? Is SmartWorks the one where they give them clothes to go to interviews?
Yes, they dress and
I thought that was an amazing charity. I saw that actually at WPP. They had they invited the then Shadow Chancellor, the now our Shadow Chancellor, to come and talk. And this charity was speaking there, and I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, they do really great work. And a few of the women in Ladies in Real Estate do volunteer. So we kind of bring back the women who work for the charity to talk about it.
Let's plug them in quickly in our conversation. So basically what you do is you donate your old clothes to them that would be suitable for people to wear to go to interviews.
Correct.
Then if you have no means to prepare yourself for an interview, you can go to them. Not only will they dress you, but they'll also prep you on how to go. I think it's fantastic. It really was.
So they do, they have a great range of services, and they feel like a retail shop. You don't feel like you're walking into a charity
help center.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's meant to empower the women, and I know they've been helping thousands of women each year. So it's a really great charity, and it's easy to kind of get involved with them. They have a few centres around London and across the UK, so you can just find an hour, I think it's an hour a month, the minimum commitment, to go and do that work, but also organize clothing drives or take part in their fashion sales. So I do like them a lot.
Yeah, I thought the same when I was introduced to them. So now let's celebrate ladies in real estate in 5 years' time. So if everything goes according to how you envisaged it, what does it look like in 5 years' time?
I think it will continue to grow, and we'll find sort of new initiatives to get more women doing lots of different things. So the mentorship program will have grown. We will be on all continents with our breakfast clubs, and the investment platform will have taken off to help more women either, again, set up on their own or just join this to create wealth for themselves out of real estate investments. So that might sound simple, but I hope that, again, currently we have 4,000 women in London. So globally, probably reach 5,000-6,000 right now. In 5 years' time, I expect that to, triple at least. But it's been going for 8, and it started with a group of 5 women meeting for a drink. So
good for you. Could do it. Good for you. Well, at least you put some sense to our stats. As I mentioned to you, I think in one of our conversations, that when we were looking at our YouTube stats, we were wondering, what are we doing wrong? Why is it only 13% women who are looking at our content? We must be doing something wrong. Until I actually came to MIPIM, got invited to a ladies' dinner, who then told me about your WhatsApp group that went live at MIPIM, so people could comment and talk to each other. And then you very cleverly switch it off after MIPIM, otherwise it would go on beeping your phone to hell. But, it was a great find for me to suddenly think, I'm in this place full of men with blue suits, but actually behind the scenes, there's this whole community of women growing. And as you say, empowering each other and talking to each other about different opportunities, and giving each other confidence.
Yeah, I think it's been really nice to see, and kind of really great to have so many women respond so well to it. But you're right, if I leave it open the whole year round, I have to kind of police the WhatsApp groups, whether it's the MIPIM one or the LiRE one.
So if you were to look at the industry that you were involved with, which is more the sort of commercial investment, larger scale development, international interest, what would you say is the stats for women in these positions?
So globally, within real estate investment management, and this stat kind of repeats itself, but in terms of capital managed and raised and kind of belonging to firms founded or co-founded by women, we're right around 2%, which is really, really, really low, given that women form about between 35 and 40% of the workforce. So we know there are women in the sector, but we need more, again, launching their own firms, managing more of the money that goes into real estate. So my hope is that LiRE can help grow that figure, because it's pretty measly, and it's similar in the startup, so tech space, in terms of capital raised by female founders. So my hope is we can make some strides. It might take a little bit more than 5 years to really shift that number, but hopefully in this next cycle that's, I think, coming up in the next couple of years, we can see that shift. So still a ways to go, but I think that's where the opportunity lies. And I think there's a lot to go around for all the women who want to get into it.
Well, I have to say, I was very refreshingly surprised when I went to the British Federation, British Property Federation. Well, first of all, the CEO is a woman. Then they had a panel, and I think the panel of 5, or was it 6? About 4 of them were women. Mm-hmm. It was.
So it's getting better.
It's getting better.
It's getting better in terms of, again, visibility, and lots of conference organizers are very focused on gender balance. So we work closely with RX, the organizer of MIPIM and MAPIC, and a few others, to make sure that they get more women, and certainly their panels are balanced. But I did see that slip post-pandemic. So not all conference organizers are focused. So you sometimes do see random panels that are all male. I think it's lazy of organizers to continue doing that. But, not to discredit men. Like, men are great, and they're great allies, and they're, not going anywhere. So it's good to have mixed panels, but for panels and conferences specifically, you have to be proactive to see that shift. However, again, in launching businesses, I think we need a bit more support for women, including things like startup capital. But you still see, if you read React News or Green Street or Property News, almost every other week you see another group of men launching a business, and you don't really see that at all on the women-founded businesses. So I'd really like for that to change in the next few years. I'm maybe being too optimistic, but hopefully in the next 5 we'll see that shift quite significantly.
Well, I think the pandemic's actually helped, in a funny way, because that flexibility of where you work from and when you work. I remember when I first had my kids and I was up at 3 o'clock in the morning doing something. I thought, I'll just quickly do my emails. And I thought, wait a minute, they're all going to think I'm mad that I'm answering my emails at 3 o'clock in the morning. But I think there's this sort of acceptance. Well, mind you, now you can schedule those emails so you don't look crazy. Yeah. But the thing is that there is this also an acceptance where, men are being given 6 months paternity leave, or women can work from home and, not come into the office so long as they're doing what they have to do.
Yeah.
I was just in the south of France, and there was a lady there who works for a huge advertising company, and she was working fully from there on her laptop. But then, in her lunch break, she'd go down to the beach and come back, and it was just acceptable that she doesn't have to be sitting in an office. I
think hybrid work is great, and it is helpful in helping more women do this. But I think we're seeing a lot of anecdotes around like men taking paternity leave, but in reality, I don't think it happens quite because of just the amount of people I speak to. It feels like some do, and it's great when they do, but not everyone is doing it. And it needs to become a bit more mainstream, if you will, and we need to, keep having these conversations to keep driving change and make it more acceptable, because I think it also depends on like what level in your industry you're at. So if you're, just starting out, you're probably not going to have as easy of a time working flexibly or a hybrid job. You kind of still need your face time. You still need to learn from a manager. You still need to meet people in person to build that network, and it'll take a little bit of time. But we're moving in the right direction for sure, and hopefully this encourages more women to take the step.
Yes.
Take the leap
well, maybe
forward.
our female chancellor will make some changes.
Fingers crossed.
There is actually in Scandinavia, if you don't take paternity leave, certainly was the case in Sweden when I was first told about it. Mm-hmm. If you don't take your paternity leave, you've got to take it within the first 5 years of your child's birth. Mm-hmm. Okay. And if you don't qualify for your pension.
Oh, interesting.
So that's one way of making sure they focus their mind in.
Yeah, I don't have to carry.
Well, listen, we love what you're doing, and we would love to support it in any way that we can and raise awareness. And thank you so much for your time and for coming here today. And we look forward to watching your story.
Thank you for having me and for the great questions and great conversation. Pleasure.
It's been a pleasure. To find out more about how you can get involved, do send us an email, and we'll be delighted to get you in touch with Ladies in Real Estate, and you can help make an impact too.
Thanks for tuning in to our latest episode of the London Property Podcast. Head over to our website where you can browse our exclusive network of top experts driving the market. As a member, you'll have direct access to our experts and their networks. Our award-winning content will help you choose the right professionals for your needs and make informed decisions about your investments. Personal recommendations are a powerful tool in connecting with trusted professionals. Let us introduce you to the right people to help you achieve your real estate goals. Contact us now to learn more about becoming a member and gaining access to these valuable resources, or joining our directory of experts.